Guinean nationals residing in Gambia are happy over the ousted of Alpha Condé by military forces. Afrobarometer survey shows majority of Gambians want perpetrators of crimes and human rights abuses done during former President Jammeh's regime to be tried in court. And South Africa is intensifying efforts to develop Africa's first coronavirus vaccine as the battle against the pandemic continues across the continent. These and more coming on The World Today. Stay tuned. Good evening, viewers. You're watching The World Today newscast here on Africa TV with me, Sohna Tunkara, and now to our news in detail. Now, Guinean nationals residing in the Gambia have congratulated the army led by Lieutenant Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya for topping long-term dictator in their country. The military in Guinea announced that it has disposed President Alpha Condé from power on Sunday. Hawanjai has the rest of that story.
President Alpha Condé was removed from power by Red Berets of Guinea Army. In a video released online, the army says they took over the country because of endemic corruption and destitution, as well as financial mismanagement. Many Guinean citizens took to the streets to celebrate following Doumbouya's announcement of a successful coup. Abdoulaye Barry, a Guinean national residing in the Gambia, says the failure of President Alpha Condé's government led to the coup.
Il a libéré la République Guinée et puis il a
Colonel Doumbouya liberated the Republic of Guinea. The people of Guinea congratulate Colonel Doumbouya for what he has done, because since Alpha Condé took over, he has implemented a dictatorship. He did not ensure the democracy of Guinea. He talks about democracy, but he doesn't ensure it.
Il nous a montré la dictature. Il n'a pas instauré la démocratie en Guinée.
Alpha Omar Jallo, also a Guinean citizen, dilated on the necessity of the coup, saying citizens were oppressed.
Hari population fo woni ko itti elending sonjike.
They did something very good because the population was oppressed in this country. It was not just those in the country who were tired, but all Guineans were oppressed. Because if your country is not upright, wherever you are, you will not feel comfortable. We thank God the military yesterday stood up and took over the government from the hands of Alpha Condé, and that makes us, the population, very happy that the army was able to take the government from their hands. Mary Gomez, a Gambian, expressed her view on the military takeover.
I am happy about it. You know the elections. They said the opposition won, but later it was changed that Condé won the results. We all celebrated here, thinking that the opposition won, but the change is not correct. We should stop that kind of corruption. You have
Guinean nationals in the Gambia are happy over the ousted of former President Alpha Condé. Now, since the confirmation of an alliance between the APRC party and Barrow's National People's Party for the December presidential
opposition to alliance with the NPP. A possible coalition between the former ruling party and that of the incumbent President Adama Barrow has been making headlines from the past few months. Although the coalition between the two parties came as a surprise to many, there were others who were anticipating a day like this. Musumaita Mane, a vendor, described the coalition as a good initiative, adding that all tribes in the country are equal.
APRC ning MPP la coalition ngontanta bake abetata kuja unte.
I am happy with the coalition of MPP and APRC. It's not a bad thing. But what I know is that we are all equal in the Gambia, whether Fula, Jola, Sarahule, Mandinka, Manjago, Tukurol, Ako. Every tribe, we are all equal. So it's everyone's right to associate with any party. That is a good thing, and it's not a surprise come to think of it. Coalition is good and should be done.
Fatu Bayo also
joined Biko or joined probably organizers. One is probably it might not be seen. Secondly, you might be perceived as a partisan. Yeah, tend to be seen perceived as partisan and not being not being impartial, which is a very key component of journalism, impartiality.
The media played a key role during the 2016 presidential elections, which saw the defeat of ex-president Yahya Jammeh after ruling the small West African country for 22 years.
You publish it, but it will be difficult though, because sometimes you have to be on the ground to know what is happening. So it's not bad for government to support the media. We've seen the COVID-19 ones where the GPU, with the government look into seeing how best media could be prevented, and it happens, and it helps a lot.
In an interview with iAfrica, the Director of Press and Public Relations at the Office of the President, Ami Bojang Sissoho, expresses dissatisfaction towards the treatment accorded to journalists when covering political rallies. The media plays a major role in keeping the citizenry well informed of current events and raising awareness of various issues in any society. It is the primary means through which public opinion is shaped and at times manipulated. If this is the media's role, then in the normal course of events, it becomes even more vital in exceptional periods like elections for the media to safeguard its independence in order to maintain its credibility. Osman Jata, iAfrica News.
Now from that, the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment through Entrepreneurship and Private Sector Development Project under the UNDP Monday handed over 2 tricycles and 50 bags of flour to a bakery owner in Brikama. The gesture is meant to support and empower young Gambian entrepreneurs, contributing towards the growth of the economy. Our reporter Khadijatu Seka attended the handed over ceremony, and she now reports.
Aside from rice, bread is one of the foods that is mostly consumed by the average Gambians. However, in recent years, the price of basic commodities continued to skyrocket, which compelled the Bakers Association of the Gambia to increase the prices of bread as well. Sekou Bojang, a young Gambian entrepreneur residing in Brikama, made headlines following his refusal to follow the directives of the association to increase the price of bread. Following his patriotic move, the Ministry of Trade, in partnership with Entrepreneurship and Private Sector Development Project, handed over items and promised to enlarge his bakery to support his endeavor.
So the support that we are providing to Mr. Bojang today is in 3 areas, three aspects. The project is buying 2 tricycles for the bakery to help them in the distribution of their product, to reach out to their many clients. We are also providing him with 50 bags of flour to support his operations. And apart from these 2, the project is also going to build a bakery that will be used to train Gambian youths who may be interested in bakery. So we are not only going to support his operation, but we will help in modernizing his bakery to be able to to enable him to continue doing his business.
Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade, Abdoulaye Jame, urged Mr. Bojang to cherish this life-changing opportunity to be able to excel in his business.
I therefore wish to encourage Mr. Bojang to make good use of the equipment that you are receiving today to support your operations and take advantage of the trade and investment opportunities in the country. You need to quickly take advantage of these huge opportunities in the domestic market, as it will help you in not only building your capacity but also expanding your business.
Making headway in a sector dominated by foreigners, Sekou Bojang hails the gesture and calls on his fellow Gambians, especially youth, to take ownership of such initiative.
We, the people of Brikama, especially the youth, let us endeavor to take charge of what is ours from the hands of the foreigners. If we allow this to continue, the foreigners will do whatever they want because they are in control. If they want, they will not work, and this will affect us. Let us try and engage ourselves.
Aside from providing items to enhance businesses, they also organize training on areas of skills that can create room for self-employment. Khadija Tuseka, iAfrica News.
From that report by Khadija Tuseka, moving elsewhere in Ghana, where real estate developers start construction activities following the easing of the coronavirus restrictions in the country. Despite the positive beginnings, some real estate developers are worried about the high cost of building materials, which, according to them, is affecting their income. Details of that in this report.
Kojo Williams's real estate business took a hit when the COVID-19 pandemic struck last year. Lockdown restrictions forced him to halt all his building projects.
People were not sure about the future because of the pandemic, so everybody wanted to hold on to whatever they had. So all agreements and investment, sources and all of that became pending, because people wanted to know what the pandemic would bring and how it was going to pan out.
With restrictions now eased, Williams says his business is beginning to pick up, but building houses has become more expensive.
The cost of construction materials over the past year or so, the costs have gone up, some going up as high as 40 to 80%. And that has actually thrown a lot of our calculations, and our permutations, out of gear.
According to government data, the real estate industry contributed significantly to Ghana's economic growth at the end of last year, when coronavirus restrictions were eased. Real estate developers say they are having to push up prices due to the rising cost of building materials. This 4-bedroom home was $180,000 before the pandemic hit. It's now on the market for $210,000. Ratings agency Fitch says Ghana's construction industry has grown by 14% this year after contracting by 5% last year. The agency links the growth to political stability and an attractive labor market, but some aren't so sure the sector has completely bounced back.
A lot of projects are being initiated today. We are not seeing, the project, especially when it comes to housing. If you find out how many contracts were signed in the past administration in terms of contract to execute certain housing projects, the numbers are so huge. If you put them together, we might be hitting about 2 million. But have you seen, even 100 of it? So sometimes I'm not too sure where they are picking the data from.
Developers like Kojo Williams hope Ghana's economic recovery from the pandemic will stay on track so he can find buyers for these brand new homes.
Afrobarometer survey shows the majority of Gambians want perpetrators of crimes and human rights abuses done during former President Jammeh's regime to be tried in court. This survey, which was led by the Center for Policy, Research and Strategic Studies, was conducted from January to February this year, questioning citizens of their say about national matters over the past months. And Gambians, particularly victims of Jammeh's atrocities, have been calling for justice to prevail for their loved ones. NEWS7th has more.
Several human rights violations and extrajudicial killings allegedly occurred during the 22-year rule of the former President Yahya Jammeh. To investigate these crimes committed under Jammeh's era, the Gambia's Third Reconciliation and Reparations Commission was established in 2017 as part of transitional justice mechanism to address human rights abuses and prevent their recurrence. The recent Afrobarometer survey shows that the majority of the Gambian population want perpetrators of these crimes to be tried in court as a way of giving justice to the victims. Almost 73% of Gambians say perpetrators of crimes and human rights abuses during Jammeh's regime should be tried in court. That is a 5% increase compared to 2018. More than 28% say they or a member of their family suffered human rights abuses under Jammeh's regime. The survey also indicated that over the past 3 years, the proportion of citizens in favor of Jammeh's extradition has also increased significantly, as the TRRC is expected to submit its final report and recommendations to President Adama Barrow this month. Citizens expect the Commission's work to lead to a variety of outcomes, including national peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, and healing. The recent announcement of APRC alliance with the NPP is perceived by many as a threat that may affect the implementation of TRRC recommendations by the government as well as the healing process of victims of the former ruling government. For Africa News, NEWS7th.
Victims of former President Yahya Jammeh's regime want perpetrators to face justice. Now we'll go with a short commercial break and the news will return shortly.
The locations, the design, the materials used, all the way down to the latest details are few of many things that we focused on when we envisioned the airport residency. As proud innovators of community estates, the airport residency in Old Yundum, a project by Swami India International, offers unique gated community with 3- and 4-bedroom villas and duplexes. Just 5 minutes away from the Banjul International Airport. Luxury, convenience, and accessibility are some of the reasons you should consider this great housing opportunity. With a clubhouse, a playground, access roads, and parking facilities available for your dream home or a valuable investment, you will find all you need at Airport Residency here in Old Yundum.
Welcome back, and now to the rest of our stories. The Economic Committee of West African States, Ecowas, will hold an extraordinary summit on Guinea on Thursday. The summit came following a coup that toppled Alpha Conde's led government on Sunday.
ECOWAS leaders issued a statement ordering for the immediate of Professor Alpha Conde and all those that were arrested during Sunday's coup. President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana, the chair of the authority of ECOWAS heads of state and government, condemned the coup that took place in Guinea. The coup d'etat in Guinea-Conakry is the second in West Africa after the 18 August 2020 Malian military coup that ousted President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. Coup plotters in Guinea are now facing foreign reprisal as the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the United Nations, and many other organizations and countries are against what the Guineans call freedom. Reporting for iAfrican News, I am Hawan Jai.
Now from there, moving on, the International Monetary Fund has provided a loan of over $300 million to the South Sudanese government as part of efforts to help in the recovery of the economy. South Sudan Central Bank says the funding from IMF will help mitigate the effects of the coronavirus pandemic and the long-standing economic downturn due to civil conflict. Details of that in this report.
The Bank of South Sudan says the $334 million will boost the country's foreign exchange reserves. The bank says the money from the International Monetary Fund will also help mitigate economic challenges caused by COVID-19 pandemic. The money is part of an allocation by the IMF to support countries that are most affected by the effects of COVID-19. But South Sudan's economy is also suffering from the effects of long years of civil war.
The new resources that the IMF have allocated to South Sudan have come when South Sudan is implementing essential economic reforms, including monetary and far-reaching exchange rate reform.
For 2 months, civil servants have gone without salaries. Some Juba residents are reacting to the arrival of the money from the International Monetary Fund in the country.
The money does not reach the right people. The ordinary traders who need this money to import basic goods don't get the money. So the central bank needs to find a way of how this money can reach the ordinary traders that focus on basic commodities.
There was 174 million given in April, but we have not seen this money going to the peace agreement. But this time, I am feeling and I am requesting if the government could pay attention and prioritize to the issues of the peace agreement.
South Sudan's government says it is working to resolve the salary irregularity.
One is the decision, the recommendation of the economic cluster to the Council of Ministers on ways and means of empowering and reforming the Ministry of Finance. 2, way of capacitating and reforming the Bank of South Sudan. And then recommendation on a new salary structure.
South Sudan Central Bank says the economy is likely to stabilize soon because in addition to the IMF's money, there is now a significant recovery of oil prices.
However, some economic experts say stabilizing the country's economy will still take time because of the ongoing flooding across the country. The flooding is washing away crops, livestock, and displacing people.
From South Sudan to South Africa, where the country is intensifying efforts to develop Africa's first coronavirus vaccine as the battle against the pandemic continues across the continent. Africa relied on the WHO-initiated COVAX facility to acquire the COVID-19 vaccines, but many countries could not roll out their vaccination programs due to the lack of adequate vaccines. And considering the inequality in the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines, the developers of the vaccine hope the initiative will change the narrative. More of that in this report.
There's a sense of hope at the Afrigen Lab in Cape Town as the finishing touches are being added. This facility, the first of its kind in Africa, will develop the continent's first COVID-19 vaccine.
We are at the moment here where the facility is 99% completed. We have equipment on order to bring in to finalize the equipment and the capacity of the facility. We have also started to train people. We in fact had a group of scientists already working on producing an mRNA drug substance.
Developing regions were left behind as first world countries armed themselves against the virus. The rest of the world is opening up, but the continent continues to battle a barrage of variants and new infections as it catches up on vaccinations.
Strategically, this aligns with a vision of a continent to no longer be subject to inequalities in the supply of healthcare products. It is not only vaccines where Africa has seen shortages and problems. This kind of blueprint and this kind of model should trailblaze the landscape for others.
What this hub is here for is to see an end-to-end process. So for us to learn how do you make a vaccine from the very beginning, from the drug substance, all the way through to a final filled product. And in order for that to happen, the technology transfer and training to happen, it had to happen in a pilot scale, in a semi-industrial scale.
African countries have some of the lowest vaccination rates worldwide, and many are dependent on global vaccine sharing scheme COVAX, which has struggled to deliver. But this mRNA production facility is good news for the continent, as Afrigen will act as developer, BioVac as manufacturer, consortium of universities as research supporters providing scientific know-how.
We are going to be developing homegrown vaccines and therapeutics later on that will serve our own people. That's one positive thing. The second thing is that we'll be taking our own innovation and making use of that. And a very interesting thing is that oftentimes the world looks at Africa as one big country, in a sense. But every country has its own peculiarities, and we also have diseases that are neglected, where developed countries don't experience the same thing.
Over 10,000 vaccine vials will be produced daily once the facility is up and running. It's the initial step in a 10-year program to strengthen the continent's capabilities to develop safe, affordable and accessible medicine for African people.
We now wrap up with the World Today newscast. Up next is Gambia 24 with Mariama Cham. For more national news, you can catch up with her at 19:30 GMT. I am Sohna Tunkara. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Good evening.